everybody and welcome back to Gaming on Caffeine. My name is Isaac and we are back playing some Feed the Beast Infinity for episode 71. And today what I want to work on is I want to work on some applied Energistics 2. More specifically, I want to start by auto-crafting some of the basics from applied Energistics 2. And then in the later part of today's episode, I want to move on and I want to start looking at P2P tunnels and how we can use those to get just a ton of channels in our AE system, which is really, really cool. I really should have probably used those a long time ago, but it's fine. I finally figured out how those work and we can finally begin to use them. So, the first thing that I want to do today is some automation. So, right now we have 10 ME glass fiber cables, which is not very good. We have 10 of them, and these things are not that hard to make, but they're a bit of a pain to make. If you have a look, the recipe for these involves a quartz fiber, which is actually very easy to make. It's just some glass and some nether quartz or some Certus quartz dust, and then the other part of this recipe is the Fluix crystals, which are made, of course, by dropping a charged Certus quartz, a nether quartz, and a redstone into a puddle of water, and this is where I want to start. I want to automate this process right here, and the way we're going to do that is, of course, using this little puddle, which I've now moved back around here. The reason I moved it around here is because it's much closer to the ME system, and we can go ahead and give it its own set of channels without having to fiddle around with the channels over here, which are already being used for all of these inscribers and stuff. So, to start with, of course, we're going to need some ME interfaces. I did go ahead and make 2 of those before this episode started, and we are going to use both of these, if not a few more, this episode as well. So, what I'm thinking here is I'm thinking if we put down, say, an ME interface right there, then we're going to hook up to our AE system. So let's do something like this, and I would prefer it if you guys didn't connect there. So we just disable those and disable that one. These are dense cables from Ender.io, which are basically the same as dense cables from Applied Energistics, but just you can bundle them together with the cables from Ender.io, like the power, the fluid, and all that kind of stuff. But I would prefer if these didn't connect, because then we can easily monitor how many channels are coming from this one controller. And if we go ahead and pull this along like so, and I'm going to have to go ahead and disconnect all those at some future point, but for now, we'll just go ahead and do something like this and kind of connect you up all the way to there. Nice. So, as always, whenever we want to automate something, we need to tell the AE system that if it sends a certain, set of items to a certain machine or device or any kind of block, that in return, it will get those items back. So, what we have to do is we have to teach our system, using these blank patterns here, that if it sends nether quartz, redstone, and charged Certus quartz to that interface, that in return, it will get 2 Fluix crystals back. So let's go ahead and do that. Boom. And then, do we have any Fluix crystals lying around? We do. We have 5. Let's go ahead and put 2 of those in there. We have to make sure it's set to processing, because this is not a crafting recipe. It is a process, and you have to make sure that you tell it it's going to get 2 back, otherwise it will get confused, and when you ask for 10, it will instead make 20, which is not always a bad thing, but if you're limited on something like nether quartz, it can be a pretty big disaster. So, make sure you put it as 2 there. I have made that mistake in the past, and basically we're going to go ahead and throw that in there. Now, all we need to do is we need to set up a system that we need to set up a block beneath the ME interface here that is going to drop those items when sent by the AE system into the water, and then we need to have something that's going to pick up those Fluix crystals once they have turned into Fluix crystals and send them back to the AE system. So, the first item I'm going to make here is the open crate from Botania. Now, if I go ahead and type in crate, there are a few items that can drop things. For instance, there's a dropper from, I think it's Open Blocks, and there's even a dropper from Vanilla Minecraft, but both of those require a redstone signal in order to work, whereas the dropper, or the open crate, sorry, from Botania doesn't. It will just automatically drop any item that is placed within it. So, if we were to go ahead and put that like there, and now if we were going to go into our system and type in Fluix crystals, we should be able to request them. Now we can go ahead and request 2, next, start, and it's going to drop nether quartz, redstone, and charged Certus quartz. There we go. And now all we have to do is send them back somehow from that puddle of water back to the AE system. Now, there are a few ways we could do this. A few of the ways won't work. For example, like a vacuum hopper wouldn't work. It would pick up the items, but it'd pick up all of the items before they transformed into a Fluix crystal, so that won't work. And instead, what we're going to do is we're going to use an item transfer node from Extra Utilities with a filter and a world interaction upgrade in it, which should allow it to pick up specific items that we want it to pick up. So we'll take a filter. Do we have any empty filters? I think we do. I think these are all empty. and a world interaction upgrade. We have 333 of those. Jeez, we've got a lot of world interaction upgrades, but if we were to go ahead and kind of get rid of this, we'll pick up those Fluix crystals for now, and we'll cancel that original request, because we can't craft anything else until the crafting system gets those Fluix crystals, which right now, it's never going to get. Let's go ahead and pick you up. And then if we do something like this, we can go ahead and face the transfer node towards where the puddle of water is going to be. And then if we put this back down, we can go ahead and if we put a world interaction upgrade in there, it's going to pick up anything that's in front of it, so e.g. the cobblestone we just broke. But if we were to go ahead and put a filter in there, it will only pick up certain items. For example, Fluix crystals. So now, if we were to go ahead and throw that in there and request another set, let's see, Fluix crystals, request 2 again, just to make it easier. Start, it's going to send all 3 of the items back down to there. 1. Is that 2? Yes, 2. And 3. And then it's going to wait. It's not going to pick anything up until they turn into Fluix crystals, at which point it picks them up. And then the final piece of the puzzle here that we need is to grab some pipes and simply send this stuff back up and around to the interface here. Now, we do want to make sure that this does not connect, so simply right-click it with a wrench, crescent hammer, or stick, and then just go ahead and stick that back down like there. And it should send those background up and into the ME interface. And as you know, anything that goes into an ME interface is automatically sent back to the AE system. And now, if we were to go ahead and have a look, it's done. It's not the crafting process is complete. The AE system is happy. It has received its Fluix crystals. So now, if we were to go ahead and request, like, I don't know, 20, like so, and click start, it's not the fastest in the world, but it is fairly fast at dropping those in. And as you see, as it goes through and makes those Fluix crystals, it's going to pick them up, send them back through to the AE system. And if we look in here, you could see that they are being crafted, and the crafting process is taking place. And this is absolutely fantastic, because it makes making these things so much easier, and that is absolutely fantastic. Now, there is one problem with this. Certain resources like redstone we can mine fairly easily. Nether quartz, I'll probably end up setting up a quarry in the nether at some point, because we also need a lot of soul sand. But things like charged Certus quartz, we can run out of fairly quickly. Now, there is a way that we can get ourselves more charged Certus quartz, and that is, of course, through the charger. So what we're going to do here is pretty much the exact same thing, but instead of using this little open crate here, we're simply going to have the charger. We're going to stick down an ME interface on top of it. We're going to go and teach our AE system that if it sends 1 normal Certus quartz to the charger, it should get 1 charged Certus quartz back, like so. And again, it's a process, not a crafting recipe. And if we stick that in there, like so, hook this guy up with some ME cables. I think that passes power through to here. It does say in well at the top there that it contains 1.5 kilo AE of power, so hopefully this is working just fine. And now, again, if we were to go ahead and request some charged Certus quartz, and I'm quickly going to go to crafting only so we can just request one real quick. It sends a charged Certus quartz down. After a few seconds, it should change into a charged Certus quartz. There we go. And then again, a similar idea here. We're going to get a transfer node from X Utilities. We're going to put a filter on it so that it only pulls out certain items, e.g. charged Certus quartz, and then pumps it back around into the ME interface here, and everything should be good. So I'll take you, we'll add you to a filter, like so. Boom, boom, and then pipe goes there. And now, if we were to go ahead and stick that in there, I'll just send it around. If we were to go ahead and request some charged Certus quartz, say 10, it's going to go ahead and put these in here. For some reason, the charger takes variable amounts of time. Sometimes it does it really quickly. Sometimes it takes quite a long time to charge up a Certus quartz, but it should go ahead and start doing this. If we look in here, you can see it's done 3 of them already somehow. You just didn't really see it because it's actually pretty fast at swapping them out, but this should actually work. So you see that, you didn't even see that disappear, but somehow one of them made its way in. This thing is really, really fast. But anyway, we have now automated the process of charging Certus quartz and making Fluix crystals, which means that we can now make Fluix crystals pretty much all the time. The final part of making ME cables is, of course, to teach the system how to make ME cables. This is a crafting recipe, so we want to go back to crafting pattern. Let's type in ME glass and then grab these guys, like so, in code. We also need to teach it how to make this guy, the quartz fiber, like so. And then one of the last things we're going to have to do is teach it how to make, let's throw you in there and you in there. And apparently I already had that one, but that's fine. We'll just take you out and then shift right click to remove the pattern. Boom, like so. And then, obviously, the last thing we need to do is teach it how to make the Certus quartz dust. Now, this leads me nicely into my next point. So what I've gone ahead and done between episodes is I've moved the alloy furnace from down there, the pulverizer from here, and the sag mill from over here, all into the last millennium, because this is where I'm going to have most of my processing done by our machines. And you'll see that we have our sag mill our alloy smelter, and our pulverizer. And in here, we don't quite have anything yet, but we need to set up a recipe for turning Certus quartz crystals into Certus quartz dust. If we look over here, Certus quartz dust is, of course, just made by putting Certus quartz crystals. You can put them through a pulverizer or through a sag mill, and that in itself is a fairly easy thing to set up. What are you doing over here? Look at this guy. Look at this guy, just thinking he can sit on our Thaumcraft pedestals. Get out of here. I think he may have come from a new area that I did set up between this episode and last, and we'll get to this next episode. This is kind of just some pre-prep for some stuff I want to do next time. But basically, what I want to work on now is P2P channels, because right now, I'm not 100% sure how ME channels work with the Quantum Link ring, but after doing some research, I'm fairly certain that this thing has 8 channels. That's because if we go back to the overworld, we gave it 8 channels by hooking it up to our system using normal cables. So you can see the cables that connect this thing to the controller are normal cables, and so I think the ME Quantum Ring has 8 channels. I think we could up that to 32 channels on the other side of the ring, of course, in the last millennium by using dense cable, but the point is that we have a very limited number of channels over in this dimension. And what I want to work on today is increasing that number of channels dramatically using P2P tunnels so that we can set up all this stuff, as well as a bunch of things like ME export buses, import buses, storage buses, and all the stuff that I'm going to want to have over here, and really anything else we want to work with applied energistics in this dimension that's going to require more than 8 channels, which is pretty much everything. So the way we're going to do that is, of course, using P2P channels. So if I type in P2P into NEI here, there are a few different types of P2P tunnels. We're going to work on the ME P2P tunnel today because we want to be able to add more channels to our system, and this thing's fairly easy to make. I did go ahead and make a bunch of all of the processors since the end of last episode, so we shouldn't really have any issues with these. I made about half a stack of all of them, apart from the logic ones, which I made a stack of. So let's go ahead and request 2 of those, like so. And now I'm going to show you how these work. But before I do, I want to make myself what are known as smart cables. These are essentially the same as normal ME cables, but you can see how many channels are being used at any given time, which makes them really good for kind of demonstrating how these P2P tunnels work. So if I was to go ahead and just make some covered cables, let's make, like, I don't know, a few of them. Do we have any Certus quartz dust lying around right now? Certus quartz stuff. We have 26. So I am going to go ahead and request some ME cables. Let's request like 30? No, we don't have enough to make that. Do we have enough to make... There we go, I've just crafted 28, that's fine. So let's throw those in there, then let's go ahead and just make all of those into covered cables, and then let's go ahead and turn all of those covered cables into smart cables with some glowstone and some redstone, and that gets us 39 of those. So for example now, if we were to just pull this off, you can see right now, none of these are lit up, which means none of the channels are being used. If we were to put something down over on this side, like maybe a P2P tunnel, like so, that might start to light up, but it might not yet because I haven't actually used anything. So let's break all that away. Let's, for example, take this interface, which does have some disks in it, and let's put that down right there. So if we were to hook this up to the system like that, I think that takes a 1 channel, but because there are only, if we look at this thing here, I can't use NEI to zoom in, there are 4 lanes there, so I think we have to have 1 extra, and for every 2 that you use, actually, I should say at the top, right now, okay, so at the top, it says 1 of 8 channels being used. There you go. It took a little while for the system to catch up there, but there is 1 line that is now blue, and if you look at Whaler, it says 1 of 8 channels. Right now, we are using 1 of 8 channels. Now, to make my, describing this a little bit easier, let's go ahead and grab some more interfaces, and wow, I didn't mean to press that. I think I hit like, oh geez, how do I get rid of this? There, it's N, for anyone who's wondering. Let's grab some ME interfaces. Just so we can add a few more items to this, let's grab like a few of you. Let's grab a few of you. And of course, we're missing some flippin' Fluix crystals. That's fine. Although it does mean that we're going to have to take you. Actually, let's start by hooking you up with power, because you guys are currently unpowered, and that is not a good thing. So if we do this... And then, where is the nearest supply of power? It's over here. This is going to be a bit of a pain. We might need to make a few more. Actually, no, we should be fine in terms of flux ducts for this. There we go. That should now all be powered up, and they should be able to start making us some Fluix dust. There we go. So, let's grab some Fluix crystals. We can always go ahead and request some more, but we have some on us, so that's fine. There we go. That should start to get us some Fluix dust. We only really need the 1 for now. We'll throw you in there, and then we'll go ahead and... Did I not just make some of those? Game? No? There we go. Okay. So we now have 2 of these. If I was to hook all of these up like so, and then we were to look over here, in a second, it should update, and it should say 3 of 8 channels used, because of course there are 3 items here, and this cable here can carry 8 channels from the quantum ring. There we go. It's taking a little bit of time to update, but it seems to be getting there eventually. So, this is not good. This means that we can only hook up 8 items. Now, if we were to get rid of all of these, and instead put down these P2P tunnels, 1 there, and then we'll use something like normal cable to connect it up, and then 1 there, which I think kind of has to go the other way around, like this, if I'm not mistaken. Like that. And then let's just, can we put down, let me try this. If I, nope. Let me try this. There we go. So we'll hook these up like this, and then what we'll do is on this side, we'll put down 1, 2, 3 of those. So, right now, this is not going to work, because what's happening here is the power from our AE system, which is coming from here, which is coming from the overworld, from our Tesseracts, is coming through to here and ending up here. Right now, we're using 1 channel for the P2P tunnel, and you'll see here it says no channels being used. That is because these cables here are not getting power, because the P2P tunnel does not transfer power. Now, one way we could fix this is simply by doing this. Now, these would have power, but this defeats the point of having the P2P tunnel, because now all the data is being transferred through here and then around and through here as well, which is not what we want. Instead, what we want to do is we need a way of transferring power from this side of the P2P tunnel to this side of the P2P tunnel without transferring data, and that is where quartz fiber comes in, those little pieces that we made earlier. And if we were to do something like this, and then do something like this, not like that, like this, there we go. This thing here, the quartz fiber, allows power to pass through, but doesn't allow any data to pass through. So right here, all of the power from this cable is being transferred round to this side, but the data is not. It's being stopped. Now, I may have set this up the wrong way around. This might have to go around like that. Is that right? It's one of these 2 ways. It doesn't help that the system is taking a while. That says 3 of 8 channels. This one doesn't. Oh, that says 0 of 8 still. Okay, so quite a lot of fiddling around later, and I figured out where I went wrong with this setup. So, what you have to do is you have to put your first P2P tunnel where the channels are coming from. So, like here, for example, our 8 channels are coming from this bottom part of the quantum ring and are coming out this way. Like so. And then on the other side, we have the other P2P tunnel. All we have to do is connect these up by shift-right-clicking with a memory card on the first one to save the settings, and then right-clicking with a memory card on the other one to load the settings to tell the system that these 2 P2P tunnels are connected. Now, of course, as I said before, we have no power here, so let's go ahead and kind of pull power from this one, and then we'll use these smart cables to kind of bring that down and connect that up like so. This is now getting power. Nothing is being transferred from the quantum ring through this quartz fiber to the system here, and what we have now is a pretty cool system. So you can see here we have 2 channels being used along this line here. 1 for the first P2P tunnel and 1 for the second P2P tunnel. But then over here we have 4 channels being used, and all 4 of these ME drive cages connected to the system using only 2 channels here. And of course we could then go ahead and fill this all the way up using up to 8 items on this side, and that would go ahead and fill up over here. That's going to jump up to 6 any second now, and now we've managed to connect 6 items up using 2 channels from the AE system. There we go, 6 channels. Now, another cool thing we could do is we can have as many outputs as we want on this P2P tunnel. So we have the 1 input here, and then if we were to go ahead and kind of pull this off like this, put down another P2P tunnel, and then do the same thing again, kind of grab the settings and save it to this side, and then we were to put down, say, something over here, it would have the same effect. We'll do that. You can see this has now got up to 3 channels, because of course we have the 1, the 2, and the 3, but then if we were to do something more, I guess like this, just to kind of show it off, if we were to put there, this will go back down to 4 in a second, but we can still use up to 8, and then over here, this one will jump up to 2, and we get an extra 8. So for every one of these P2P tunnels that we add to this original one, we get an extra 8 channels, which is kind of awesome, because it means that way, we've got just this one, like, original here, we have 8, and for every single one of those 8, we can have 8 more, which has basically turned our normal 8 into, I think, around 54, because of course we do have this first one here, which doesn't really count, so we don't quite have the 64, but we do have, sorry, 56 channels. A available because we've got the 2 there and the 8 there, and the 4 there, but of course we've got 8 on both sides. So this is a really cool way of adding extra channels to your system, kind of adding little sub areas, I guess, but they're not really their own network. They're just kind of these little P2P tunnels. And this is exactly what we're going to do for our system here. We're going to put down all of these along the top, and all of these are going to be used to automate the use of these machines here. And then for these ones, we're going to have some P2P tunnels going to this section here. We're going to have some more going down to that section down there, and it should work out kind of well. So let's go ahead and kind of clean this up a little bit and kind of put stuff back. I did have to move this whilst I was tinkering around. And for the actual setup that I'm going to have, I only use these drive cages because they were just something I could use to demonstrate the point here. Really, what we're going to have is, I kind of liked having that in the middle. So I will put that back down where it was originally. You can go back down there. And then on the back here, we will do something like this. Let's stick down our first P2P tunnel like there. Let's go ahead and grab some power from this little side here. We'll go boom, and then we'll hook that around using, you can use either smart cables or normal cables. Either cables will work, but we'll hook that up kind of like that, and then come down to there. Yeah, that's right. And then we want to have that come round and out, and then on this side we want to have some kind of, again, P2P tunnel, and then we're just going to pull this out and connect them up like so. And then if we were to go ahead and disconnect that, and then connect you with a shift click to you, like so, this will now connect them. And then what we'll do is, if we want to add more machines here, we can add those up, and that's just going to take up more of the 8 channels here. Again, we're still only using 2 channels here. And then what I'll probably do next episode, when we come back to use this stuff, and we start putting things like import, export, and storage buses over here, is we'll just drag out from here, and then kind of down, and then at some point, we'll put another P2P panel like that, and then we'll just go ahead and connect up all of our devices that we're going to use over here to this P2P tunnel and use 8 on here, while still only having 3 being used there, and that's going to give us a bunch of flexibility. So that's how the P2P tunnels work. Hopefully you understood how this works here. They were a bit complicated and a bit weird, but hopefully that made at least a little bit of sense. And now to finish off the episode, I'm going to go ahead, and I don't want to use that memory card anymore. I'm going to go ahead and try and finish off the auto-crafting of the basic ME cables, which of course requires us to go back to the overworld real quick. We should really get some kind of one of these pattern terminals over in the other dimension there, so we can go ahead and do stuff like this and tell our system that if it sends a normal quartz crystal out, it will get some certain quartz dust back in code. And I think that's actually about it. If we go ahead and type in ME glass fiber cable, it knows how to make the fluix crystals. It knows how to make the quartz fiber once we've taught it. I think it knows how to make quartz fiber. Let's have a look. Quartz fiber. Yep, it knows how to make quartz fiber. It just needs to know how to make the certain quartz dust. We now know how to make the fluix crystals. I'm also going to teach it how to make the smart cables, just in case we want to use those at some point in the future, and we want to be able to auto-craft them, so we'll just do that. Again, pattern in code. We should really also go ahead and set up our sheep system again at some point, because right now we do have 64 stacks of wool outside, but our sheep are gone for whatever reason, so we're not going to be getting any more wool anytime soon. But that should be fairly easy to rectify with something like a golden lasso or something like a safari net. We can just go around, pick up some sheep, and bring them back. But to finish off here, let's go ahead and plop this guy over in here like so. And now, if we were to go back to the overworld, just to see if this is actually linked up successfully, does our system know how to make certain quartz dust? It does. If I was to request, say, like 50, and then click start, let's also grab some transfer nodes, because we are going to need these in just a second. Does that 50 start sending things over to the SeNtiMeL? It should. Yes, look at this. It's working. It's working. And because of the way the SeNtiMeL is set up and the way the EndIO machines work, you can have the top be a push and a pull. So it's going to pull all of the crystals down into it and then push all of the certain quartz dust back out into the same ME interface. Unfortunately, the pulverizer doesn't have that same functionality. So for this guy, we are going to have to go ahead and, first of all, make sure that's the right way around. Set, like, say, this to red, the output, and then just have something like a transfer node. Bring that up and around back into the interface. And the reason I put a pulverizer over here, and I'm not just using solely the SeNtiMeL, is because if we look up the recipe for silicon, which is used a lot in making all the processors, if you pulverize sand in a pulverizer, you get a 100% chance of silicon, whereas if you do it in a SeNtiMeL, you only get a 50% chance. So we're going to teach our system how to make silicon using the pulverizer instead of using the SeNtiMeL, because it makes a lot more sense. So we'll put you in there. This is a process, and we'll get ourselves some silicon like so. And now our system should have no problem at all in making any of the processes, because up until now the only problem was lack of silicon, and it should also not have any issues making ME cables or covered any cables or anything like that. We'll just go ahead and plonk you in there, and there we go, guys. That is it. I have upgraded that ME system just a little bit. Next time we're going to come back, I'm going to explain what the heck this is over here and what the heck I'm going to use all of this stuff for. We'll also go ahead and use some more of these P2P tunnels to enhance our AE system and get a bunch more channels. But with that, guys, thanks for watching. If you did enjoy the video episode, that like, it really does help out a lot. Leave a comment down below telling me what you think of P2P tunnels. Do you like the new Applied Energistics 2? That's not really new anymore. Do you prefer the old one from Applied Energistics 1? Let me know in the comment section down below, and I will see you guys next time.